Enter the Gungeon is one of the most referential games I have ever personally played, and it is always a joy to go through this amazing game and to encounter weapons, items and synergies that reference popular culture at almost every turn. For the topic of today's video, we're going to take a look at one of the most individually referenced points across the entire game. When it comes to the classic Metal Gear Solid series, Enter the Gungeon takes a serious amount of time to point out their love for the classic series. Every corner you turn, the game tips its hat to show dodge roll, the developers of Enter the Gungeon, appreciation for what Metal Gear did for gaming as a whole. I have counted personally 22 references, and would love to know in the comments if I've missed any so we can discuss it down below. For those of you who may not be aware, we stream Enter the Gungeon and similar games every day on twitch.tv/Let's Suffer Together. We would love to see you there to discuss this game we all love even further. One of the first and more obvious references you see in the game is the first floor boss fight, having a 1 in 3 chance of being the fight for every first floor. The Gatling Gun, who when you first encounter him is only noticeable from the swooping shadows from above and a Vulcan cannon on the floor. It is one of the more in-your-face references for the Metal Gear series in Enter the Gungeon, with the name being changed with clever wordplay and highly humorous change character-wise into a gull. It is hard to miss both with being large, muscular and wielding a Vulcan cannon. The gull's death mimics that of Vulcan Raven. With both being consumed by ravens after their demise, the birds fly away leaving no trace of a body, just like they did in Metal Gear Solid. As an extension to this boss fight and reference, the Gatling Gull's weapon can be utilised throughout your time in the Gungeon if you're lucky enough to find it. It is an impressive weapon for rooms and boss fights. The next item is cigarettes, a reference to Metal Gear Solid and its sequels, in which the protagonist manages to sneak a pack of cigarettes past through inspection before his mission, an item whose usefulness is questioned by the other characters. Remember kids, even in Enter the Gungeon, smoking is bad for your health. It deals the player for half a heart damage. If the player has armour, the damage will remove the armour. However, you will gain +1 coolness per cigarette, a hidden stat which provides increased rune drops and active item use. Moving on to another direct reference from the Metal Gear Solid inventory, chaff grenades are used in the Metal Gear series often. The Gungeon wiki says it does the same thing in Gungeon as they do in Metal Gear Solid. This seems a bit of a lazy comparison however, since Metal Gear Solid's chaff is about interfering with electronics, making them more akin to stun grenades as demonstrated here on Bulletkin. Moving on to a more character-based reference for Metal Gear Solid, the Wolf is a subtle hint to Sniper Wolf. The Wolf attacks anything that it can reach and does good damage. This reference is even more solidified by the synergy with the sniper rifle. The synergy Sniper Wolf, yes Wolf, as in Borg Borg, is clearly a play on words. The synergy works as follows. If you stand still while using this sniper rifle while holding the Wolf Companion, you create a golden glow which means you can do extra damage for that shot. This also comes from the game, as we are told in Metal Gear Solid, that snipers are trained to stay still for days at a time if necessary. Moving along to the Ancient Hero's Bandana, which provides quadruple ammo in Enter the Gungeon. First appearing in the original Metal Gear Solid, the Infinity Bandana worn by Solid Snake, whom the title Ancient Hero is likely in reference to, was an unlockable item depending on the ending you received, which granted infinite ammo when worn by Snake on a second playthrough. The bandana was also used in later titles in the series. Nano Machines. The item name and functions are references to the Nano Machines which Senator Armstrong uses in the final battle of the game, Metal Gear Revengeance, and his famous quote, "Nano Machines, son." The use of Nano Machines in Enter the Gungeon, however, while can be life-saving, do not heal all wounds. They function if you are hit 4 times, you gain 1 piece of armour. While not as impressive as Metal Gear version, don't be fooled, Nano Machines have saved most Gungeoneers' life at some point. While dealing with a single reference point, this next one deals with 3 individual references at the same time. A weapon in the railgun, an active item known as Fortune's Favour, and a synergy, Dead Cells. All referencing Fortune or the group she is a part of from Metal Gear Solid 2, she supposedly possesses unnatural luck, but in reality possesses a device capable of deflecting bullets and turning live grenades into duds around her. In Enter the Gungeon she is referenced an enormous railgun, along with a deflective device known as Fortune's Favour. Combined, these create the synergy called Dead Cells. This decreases railgun's charge time and increases its damage to bosses by 30%.
I see you've got yourself a ration. Rations are portable meals carried by Soviet soldiers.
I've heard some nasty stories about how they taste.
A quick and simple one next, in the obvious and direct reference to the rations from the Metal Gear series, both from its description and the auto-healing properties. The pickup quote is a reference to the Japanese snack Calorie Mate, which makes an appearance in Metal Gear Solid 3. If you run out of health and enter the Gungeon, the ration will auto-use to heal you 2 full hearts to save you from death. With the Patriot, this weapon references the gun of the same name wielded by the boss in Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. The gun's pickup quote, Gun Eater, parodies the title of the game. The gun in Enter the Gungeon fires faster and faster the longer you hold down the fire button, making for incredible damage production, unless you have to dodge roll as well. An extension of the Patriot and Metal Gear Solid 3 nods previously, a separate reference comes from the What a Thrill synergy, requiring the Patriot in either the box, cigarettes, Fortune's Favour, Ancient Heroes Bandana. The reference comes from the opening line of the song Snake Eater from MGS3. The synergy will have a chance to turn enemies into snakes by shooting them with the Patriot.
Just a box.
The box itself is part of Enter the Gungeon. This item is a reference to the famous, often used box disguise from the Metal Gear series. It is used in Enter the Gungeon as an active item where, when used, the character hides under a box and cannot be seen or attacked by most enemies in the game, also allowing you to steal from shops and NPCs. Moving back to weaponry, the SAA refers to the Colt Single Action Army, the gun who contains multiple references to Revolver Ocelot, who features heavily in many of the games in the Metal Gear series, who uses a single action army as his weapon of choice. The title of Exhilarating Reload Time is a reference to Ocelot's same quote in Metal Gear Solid 3. This weapon's ability to bounce bullets off walls is also seen in the series. The SAA's spinning animation is a reference to Ocelot's tendency to twirl his guns. The weapon also has a synergy called Pretty Good, needing the SAA and either the box, ration, Fortune's Favour, Nano Machines or Hip Holster, most of which are also direct references to the Metal Gear series. The synergy Pretty Good is a reference to Ocelot's popular quote,
You're pretty good.
You're pretty good.
Pretty good.
I'll admit this next one flew right over my head thinking it was a Wicker Man reference.
Not the beast! Ah! Open my eyes! Ah!
It was only until I did some research and saw the tagline of The Pain that it all became clear, being a reference to the bee-wielding maniac, the Pain from Metal Gear Solid 3. In Enter the Gungeon, the jar of bees is an active item that is thrown when used and does good damage against the target. Bees spew out of the jar and attack the enemies homing in onto it. For the last few, I think a few direct clips will help the context if you would indulge me. Enter the Gungeon's most direct and prominent reference to the Metal Gear games was to go all out in the Advanced Gungeons and Dragons DLC, and insert the added secret flaw, a fight with the rat who has been hoarding away all of your items he has stolen over the course of the game, allowing him to build an entire Metal Gear. This is a second phase of the rat fight, taking several of the attacks from the Metal Gear Solid fight, using both railgun, lasers, radar to launch missiles. This fight, being one of the hardest in the game, takes centre stage as also one of its most impressive.
How about you, Snake?
Directly after the Metal Gear fight, another glaring reference comes in the form of a final showdown with the rat that has been causing you so much trouble all game. This third and final phase of the rat completely changes up how the entire game has been played, forcing you to adopt an almost Mike Tyson punch-out style of mechanics and gameplay. Getting your own back is tough and will take many attempts to beat the rat. With a timer and hand-to-hand combat, the comparisons to Metal Gear Solid's final act is almost plagiarism if it wasn't such a perfect way to satisfy a need to get your own back for all the items the rat stole over you over the course of your Enter the Gungeon runs.
Damn! Snake! I'm afraid I can't let you get past here.
Liquid!
You're not going any farther. Die!
In the final DLC, A Farewell to Arms, the game went all out with one final huge nod to Metal Gear Solid, hiring Cam Clarke, the voice actor for Liquid Snake. As you followed a sewer dweller, Aghanim, a sometimes sidekick of the major antagonist of one of the character's pasts, he finally lets you down into his hideout. It ends up leading you to a rooftop of an office building where you face the character in a helicopter, no doubt bought or built from the proceeds of the items and weapons you have sold him in all your runs. As the final DLC, it was an amazing send-off to a fantastic game that has an obvious love towards Metal Gear Solid. And that was, all in all, about 23 references to Metal Gear Solid in the entire Enter the Gungeon game and DLC. If I have missed any references, why not let me know in the comments section down below. If you like the content, why not subscribe for more Enter the Gungeon and related gaming content. I stream every day on Twitch at twitch.tv/Let's Suffer Together. Why not join me there and we can discuss the game further. Till next time my friends, I've been Suffer of LST, and I will catch you next time.